My name is Ian Campbell. I'm a filmmaker and a media artist based in Regina, Saskatchewan. For the last 10 years or so, I've been experimenting with time-lapse photography, pointing my camera at everything, from the sky to the ocean to growing plants and even the moldy vegetables in my fridge. I love the capacity for the medium to capture the way organic life changes in timescales that we just can't understand in our human-centered world. So, for this project, I've invited 2 humans and 2 plants to collaborate with me to see if we can use different techniques to create an artwork that can sort of bridge this divide between species.
So part of it is the obvious movement and the growth and development. But then there's also, you can see the water in the plastic bottle slowly, the level slowly going down as it gets used up. So, I guess you could describe that as sort of developmental sounds.
Okay.
I think generally when I do an improvisation, it doesn't really have a form to it. I don't know if you would want it to have a form. Like I say, it's more just kind of like going along in time. In real time, I suppose. But if you had ideas, like I said in the email, if you had some specific ideas, I can play with that too. If you want to have a bit of a structure.
No, I think it should be. I'm trying to break this up into 2 parts, right? So, I'm collaborating with you on this one, and then I'll collaborate with Ernie in a much more. I think the collaboration with Ernie will be much more analytical and almost predetermined, because the idea is to attach tiny little sensors to a tomato plant.
Nice.
And then the sensor data will be almost like a score, which I will just give to him, and then he'll take that and then make something out of it to go along with the video of the tomato plant. So basically, it's sort of I think there's sort of 2 different ways of working, and 2 different two different ways of working with the same kind of material.
It's almost like analog and digital. Well, something that I seem to be doing a lot lately, and I might use this in this short improv as well, is sort of the contrast. I've been interested in this for a long time, but the contrast between what we think of as traditional vocal beauty and other sounds. So, a lot of what we do in classical music training is working on the sound, like you have to have a certain sound. If you're a violinist, you look for a certain sound. If you're a singer, you're looking for this one certain sound. And so I spent a lot of time as a younger singer trying to achieve that. But then there's all this other less conventionally beautiful stuff that's also very attractive and interesting to me. So typically in something that I do lately, I try to use both, so there's a moment that seems like almost stereotypically like, oh, that's a singer, and then it devolves and deconstructs into something that you might say, look, that's a really ugly sound. So that's just something that I find really interesting. It's sort of a technical thing as much as anything, a sort of technical vocal thing that I find interesting. But yeah, I don't know
I think
that sounds.
I think that fits really nicely because you've got the trashiness of this, but then these beautiful little pink flowers that come out. So,
Yeah,
um,
exactly. Yeah. So I might try that, and then that also might. I know one of the things I tried this morning when I was trying different things with the video. Um, in my mind, it was sort of funny and corny because as those little flowers came out, that's when I decided to make. Oh yes, this will be a beautiful sound after all the crunchy, weird stuff I was doing, which is it's almost in my mind almost cartoonish. But anyway,
I guess like a lot of times what I like to do in my work for whatever reason is I like to take something humble and then elevate it a little bit. And I think elevating it to the point of contemporary art, it doesn't have to. We don't have like it doesn't have to be go beyond that kind of, but to sort of have that kind of feeling of that this is a little tiny bit of the world that we're just kind of spotlighting, and
yeah,
we're just kind of like giving it a moment, maybe.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and that's kind of I would say that's where something like this would come from for me. And then if that's part of your own exploration, that's good. Like
Yeah.
this is sort of a project of sonification, right? It's like a way of taking some input and then making some output, which is music or sound.
Yeah.
And um, uh, the one with Ernie is way more literal, whereas the one with you is kind of a little more. There's a bit more sort of more speculative or more
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
improvisational.
Yeah, it's something. It sounds like a joke or a pun, but something sort of organic about it. Um, but yeah, that's good. I will think of that. Um, Definitely. And also, I'm glad you told me that you're doing a sort of other version with Ernie because that also is kind of fun to think about. Then it can be, yeah, they'll be very contrasted, and I can just again not plan for that, but just have that in my mind as I make a recording.
In preparation to meet with my other collaborator, Ernie Dulanowsky, I set to work building a simple interface between an Arduino Nano microcontroller and an MPU 6050. This device combines a 3-axis gyroscope and a 3-axis accelerometer with a digital motion processor. We call this a 6 degrees of freedom motion sensor. I'm going to use this device to track the minute movements of the tomato plant and convert that data into sound. I'm going to connect this motion sensor to an Arduino, which I will plug into my Mac. This will allow me to feed the real-time data into a programming language called Pure Data. From there, I can decide how I will use the data that the plant will produce. My program will also run all my cameras, recording the time-lapse movie. I wonder if I could just try to explain what I'm trying to do.
Yes, please.
Okay. The idea is to create an artwork using plants.
Right.
The plants have some part in determining the sound piece. My first step was to create some time-lapse movies, which I've been shooting over the
Yeah.
5, 6, 7 years, I guess, maybe 10 years.
Well, it's like every time I come over to your house, there's something in your kitchen that's being filmed. So
Yeah, my kitchen is full right now. I'm going to show you some pictures of that in a second.
cool.
So a couple of years ago, I filmed a potato plant, and what I've done is I've given it to Helen, and Helen made a soundtrack for it, which I was quite pleased with, and I'm going to show that to you as well.
Okay.
And so I thought it would be interesting to try another angle on the interaction between these plants as they're growing over time, and sound artists, i.e. you. And so there's like so many different ways to do it, and I'm just trying to figure out what way might work for this particular situation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, so I'll show you what I've been working on. This is my kitchen piece. So you've got this in the pot. Here is a tomato plant that I've been growing since last summer. I grew it from a seed,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got some tomatoes. There's one right there, you can see.
Cool.
I have this set up that I can put cameras around it. I've got 3 cameras shooting it. And then if you look, let's see if I can find it. Right here, that's like an accelerometer that tracks movement, and it is feeding into an Arduino. That's here, and that's going into the computer. And it's right now I've got it set up to a really simple, kind of a simple patch.
In Max?
I'm using Pure Data.
Oh, brilliant. Even better.
And so I had a couple of ideas, because so I'm getting like X, Y, Z data from this little thing. And I'm trying to get it so that it's going to move as the plant grows, right?
Yeah.
So I was trying to think of like, what would Ernie want if he was going to use a plant as a kind of a starting off point for a sound piece. So first I was going to just record numbers, so just like record them in a text file, and then somehow maybe transcribe that to MIDI or do something.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was thinking about doing that with some of the objects within Pure Data, which you can you can make MIDI notes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, maybe I'll just simplify it a little bit, and I'll just use a sound, because I can make an oscillator. So right now, what this is doing is it's taking just taking one axis. So it's taking I think it's the X axis.
Yeah.
And it's coming out of the Arduino. And it's going into every 5 seconds. It takes a sample. All of the cameras go off, so it takes pictures, and then it records a 50 millisecond audio file, which is kind of a new interest. It's a new kind of idea for me.
Mhm.
Is the idea of time lapse sound? I think is
Yeah,
interesting. So it's just recording these little chunks of sound, and they're very they're just real dirty and not. They have a bit of glitch on them at the beginning and
yeah,
end and stuff,
yeah.
but that's pretty much what I've got. So I'm gonna play a video. It's just on this side. Can you hear that?
Yeah, that's actually quite gorgeous looking stuff. I like the slow movement of the plants.
It is fun, yeah.
And I like the little blippy sound. It almost sounds like a granular synthesis thing happening. So just because if you're only recording like millisecond bursts, that's like a really kind of that's like a large grain in granular synthesis, right? Yeah, they often go for something a lot smaller. But I like this little blippiness.
What do you think? What's the
Well, it's
potential?
it's easy to work directly with the sound that you've recorded. That would be a good source for something. Another thought that I had is, in addition, like if you're recording an oscillator, but would it be possible to record the ambience in that room?
Yes. I could hook up a microphone
Okay.
and add it to this right SF. So maybe what I would do is just maybe attach the microphone above, like maybe to the stock, and then
Yeah,
I'm thinking it would just get like household sounds, but really
that's okay.
tiny little bits.
That's okay. That's perfect. That's exactly what we're going for.
Okay.
That's exactly what I was thinking we should get.
So there's our project. I think there's a lot of potential in using plants to make sound art. A lot of it depends on the sensitivity of the tools we measure them with. My next goal is to attach an EEG sensor to measure the electrical potential in my houseplants. Also, I'd like to make music by measuring the volatile organic compounds that the plants give off. There's always new ways that we can better collaborate with our photosynthetic brethren.